What's up, everybody? We're on another episode of Behind the Cards. I believe this is episode 8. And with me today is Graig from Midlife Sports Cards. How you doing, Graig?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks for being on. It's kind of weird. Greg's the first guest that I've had the most minimal contact with before having a conversation with. So that could actually be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. So we'll see how this goes.
We'll find out, right?
Yeah. So Graig, what I've been doing a little icebreaker when I have somebody on the show. Do you mind if we try it out, see how it goes?
Let's do it.
All right. On Greg's show, he a lot of times looks at grading companies, and he looks at rookie cards. And what I have here is I have 5 sets of rookie cards, and I'm going to ask you which card do you think is worth more on the PSA website for a PSA 5 of that card?
Okay.
All right. So the first one is a 1939 play ball Ted Williams, or a 1954 Hank Aaron. So 1939 Ted Williams or a 1954 Topps Hank Aaron. Which card do you think is more expensive?
I'm gonna say the Hank Aaron.
It's actually the Ted Williams.
Is it the Ted Williams?
Yeah, the Ted Williams is $8,600 and the Hank Aaron $6,100.
Okay, that's more than I thought the Ted was. That actually is the way I think it should be, probably. But
yeah, I was actually thinking it would be the opposite too when I looked it up. It was kind of, I guess, because of how old the play ball card is, and probably how much more scarce it is, I'm guessing. But
yeah, I would think the pop count would be a lot less on the Ted Williams.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
But a lot of people are big Hank Aaron collectors, so
right, exactly. Yeah, that's why I was on the fence about it. The next one's very close. The 1962 Lou Brock or the 1958 Roger Maris.
Well, I know that they're both. Let's see. This is a PSA 5 or SGC PSA 5.
Yep.
I'm gonna say it's the Lou Brock.
It is. It's the Lou Brock by $25. Yep.
So, what is the value of those?
Lou Brock $275.
Yeah.
And Maris $250.
Yeah, I was thinking they're both like $250, $260, somewhere in there.
Yeah. So you were on the money on that one. Maris is interesting because he's the only one that I picked that's not a Hall of Famer. So, a lot of people who do the Hall of Fame registry, you wouldn't need him. So
yeah,
I thought that was interesting. So the next one is the 1955 Sandy Koufax or the 1954 Ernie Banks.
Oh, 2 of my favorite cards. I think, Koufax usually sells for a lot, but the Banks is a really popular card. If it was any year other than the rookie, I would say it'd be the Koufax. I think I got to go Koufax.
It was the Banks.
Is it the Banks?
Yeah.
It's a really expensive card, but the rest of his cards are not that expensive.
No. And I talked to a few collectors about Koufax, and pitchers usually don't get much love when it comes to card pricing. And they said it's just like a lot of it has to do with him being a Dodger, and like he's kind of it's the Dodger appeal. And I guess you look at Ernie Banks, he's Mr. Cub, but The thing about the Ernie Banks that I like the white background, but some collectors actually don't love the white background. What's your thoughts on the white?
Literally, my favorite card is the 54 Ernie Banks.
Is it really?
Yeah, it literally is my favorite card, and
that's cool.
I don't have it, but to me, he looks like he's about 17, and I think he's probably actually about 20. Yeah, and the colors just pop off of that. It's sort of like a bone background. It's not even white. It's like an ivory. I mean, and it's got that logo, that old Cubs logo up in the corner there. I mean, it is the coolest card. Yeah.
I'm interested in the same in Monty Irving because he has the white background also, and I just like you said, I love the white background. But
now the Monty Irvin's a 51 Bowman, right?
Oh, I'm not talking about the rookie. I'm talking about the
Oh.
Lonnie Irvin 1954.
Oh, 54. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really cool card too.
Yeah, it is. It is. All right, then we got two more left. So the 1955 Harmon Killebrew,
Yeah,
or the
way undervalued.
that was in one of your videos. I remember.
Yeah.
1954 Al K line. So you got
I think the K line's worth more than the Killebrew.
Yeah, this wasn't even close. The K line's $700 and the Killebrew's $375.
And again, two really cool cards. The K line, face shot action thing in the background. I don't know, the 54 and 55 sets are two of my favorite sets.
Yeah, you were saying about the Cubs logo. I think the Tigers logo back then was really cool. I really liked it.
Yeah.
All right, so the last one, this one's very interesting. The 1951 Bowman Whitey Ford, or the 1948 Bowman Yogi Berra.
So I know both of these cards pretty well. Now the Whitey Ford, like 2 years ago, was not worth much. It was a very inexpensive card, and then over the last couple of years, it's shot way up. The Yogi has really kind of stayed in the same range. There's a Yogi Berra in some of my videos. I'm taking the long answer here, so but there's a guy who's always at all the card shows I go to, and he has a Berra and a 5, and it looks like it's an 8. It's gorgeous, and every time I go to a show, I stop and I look at it, and he's asking way too much money. And we're talking about 5 grades, right?
Yes.
So I'm
curious what he's charging after I tell you.
He's asking $1,400.
Okay,
is what he's asking, and the comps are more like $900 to $950. So this is for the Yogi. So I would say. So he's asking way too much, but it is a beautiful card. So what does the PSA's website say? I'm going to say they're going to say 900, and the Whitey is not going to be 900. So I think the Yogi is worth more.
Okay. The Yogi on PSA is $1,050. So you were pretty close. You were only like $100 off, and the Whitey Ford is $1,250.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
That really surprised me. Now, literally a couple of years ago, I was looking at that card raw, and you could buy one a couple of years ago for like $200. Like a decent looking one.
Well, that's
it's gone way up.
Well, my thought process was Ford's a pitcher, so that's a negative. Bowman Yogi Berra's card's 3 years older, so that's a negative for the Whitey Ford card. And Berra's won more championships. So the problem with the
Berra card does it's black and white. The Whitey Ford card is color, and I think a lot of people don't like that 48 Bowman set. I mean, the Stam Usuals that year, you know, there's a Warren Spahn rookie that year. There's a few of them, and it's just not a very popular set for whatever reason. But I'm surprised the Whitey's gotten that expensive.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty cool. I hope you like the game.
Yeah.
All right, cool. It was fun playing along with you. So let's get into it. I wasn't sure where you were going to set up the camera today because you kind of cracked me up when your videos start. If people don't watch your videos, like you're sometimes at your front door, you're sometimes here. Like what's? I'm curious to hear. Like, and sometimes you're standing up. So I'm like. Yeah, I'm like, this is pretty unique. I've never seen anybody shoot their intros like this before.
Yeah. It's funny that you've noticed that. I've done some in the backyard too. So, in my house, I've got 2 daughters, teenage daughters, and got my wife. And so I try to go to a place away from them where I'm not interrupting them in the middle of the house walking around. But then also I have hardwood floors. So the acoustics are really bad when I'm in normal spots of the house. It's echoey. So that's in my bedroom that I do a lot of them because I have carpeting, and the carpeting it doesn't sound as echoey. So I usually do it in there, but then I'm like, it's weird if every time I'm in the same spot. So most of those shots are in my bedroom, different spots with different backgrounds. And then I'm a teacher is my job. And so sometimes like when I finish at the end of the day and I'm waiting, like my daughter has soccer practice and I'm picking her up after practice, I'll do an intro like in my classroom. With the background is in my classroom. So yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. So you're 4 months in. My series has been based on newer channels. Because a lot of times the newer channels, it takes a while to be invited on stuff, and kind of get your feet wet with the live and all that kind of stuff. So you're 4 months in. What's the first 4 months felt like for you?
So when I started this whole thing, my first video posted October 21st. And when I first started, everything I read was if you post 2 to 3 videos every week for 2 years, you'll get to about 1,000 subscribers. So that was sort of my benchmark. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit to this for 2 years and just see what happens. And if I get to 1,000 subscribers, cool. And after about a month, I had about 60 subscribers after about a month.
Yeah.
And I was like, this isn't really going up very fast, but I kind of just committed. I'm going to keep doing this. And I just kept doing it. And then all of a sudden things took off. And about January 1st, so after about just over 2 months, I was at 500 subscribers.
Wow.
And so I went from about Thanksgiving time to January 1st, I went from about 100 to 500. And then I went from 500 to 1,000 in about a month.
Wow.
And then now I'm a little over 1,800 subscribers. So it's been almost exact. It's been 4.5 months, a week shy of 5 months. And so needless to say, I'm completely blown away at how this has gone. But obviously it's been great. And the feedback from people has been awesome. And everyone's been so nice. So it's been a lot of fun, but it's blown me away at how quickly it has all taken off.
If you kind of look at your trajectory, like you had like regular, like you said, you had like regular videos, and all of a sudden, like you said, almost over a month in, you made a video about how to prepare your cards for PSA and how there was 4 tips on how to get better grades. So that video, I think, I want to say it's 11,000 views now. That's not the first video on YouTube that shows that. Like, obviously, we were kind of late to the game with the pandemic and stuff. Why do you think that video in particular hit home with people, where you got so much support for it, I guess?
That's a good question. So what I found was when I very first, so let me back up and say, when I started, the thing about collecting is it's kind of a lonely place. It's sort of, we're all isolated. And then occasionally there are, shows, and then you see other collectors like, oh, there are other people like me here,
Yeah.
And back in the day when I was a kid, you'd go to the card shop and you'd kind of hang out at the card shop, buy some cards, and you see other people. But card shops have kind of dried up a little bit. So there's not a real good place to like communicate with other people about cards.
Yeah.
And so what I found when I started was I was like, I just want to connect with other people. I want to talk about cards. I want to have the opportunity to have dialogue with people. And so what I started with is I was just kind of showing my collection and showing things that I bought. And people that didn't really take for people. And then what took was I started, because I'm a teacher, I have this instinct of, if there's something I know that other people may not be as familiar with or have as good understanding of, I feel like this sense of like, well, I should share it so that other
Right.
people can understand it. That's like that's what I do every day. And
Right.
so I had some PSA submissions and they went really well. Like I was getting really good grades, and I was seeing all these reveals and people were all disappointed with how their grades were. And I was like, I don't know if people are maybe people aren't like screening their cards well enough, or maybe they're not preparing their cards well enough. So I just basically made that video of, well, this is kind of what I do. These are just some tips. And it went about 2 weeks where it had about 80 views in the first 2 weeks. And then I went to work one day, and I remember checking my thing before school started, and I looked and I was like, what is going on? Like the curve went from like this to like that. It was like, it was in an insane jump. And I don't know what YouTube did to finally say, this is something we think people would like, and like promoted it or something. But it just like, it went from like 100 views to like 1,000 views in like 2 hours.
Wow.
I have no idea why that happened or how that happened.
Wow.
But what I learned, what I took from that was, you know, people want to hear tips, and they want to hear suggestions, and they want to hear ideas, and they want to brainstorm together, and they want to kind of have this dialogue back and forth. They don't want to just see my stuff. And I get that, because there's a bunch of people that are showing their stuff.
Right.
And so I kind of changed my focus, and I said, well, this is kind of perfect because this is what I do. I'm a teacher. So I'm just going to take the things that I might have some understanding about, and then just kind of put them out there. And then the other thing is I kind of look at things differently sometimes. Like I'll go to a show, and instead of just like enjoying the cards, I'll go, why is that set so cheap? Like, why isn't that seems like that should be more. So then I'll investigate it and I'll think about it. And I'm like, well, I'll make a video on like that set and why is that set cheap? And then people have tended to enjoy it. And that's just kind of how things transpired.
Yeah. And that's one thing, like when you said you were a teacher, like it kind of clicked for me. Cause like the reason why I was attracted to your videos were, they were a little bit different than some of the other videos I watched. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you. Is it was kind of getting a different perspective on a different way somebody makes card videos. And like you said, your videos to me feel very research based. Like I'm going to figure out why this is happening. And then you kind of you know, not every video is exactly like that, but you kind of look at numbers and you kind of compare stuff, and you do a really great job at editing. And kind of making it more feel like a PowerPoint almost, and walking it through that PowerPoint. So I think it's really cool, man. I think it's really engaging, and it's really thought provoking. So
well, I appreciate that a lot, and it really is. I mean, I don't know how my stuff comes across to people, so hearing that feedback is really cool. But for me, when I make a video, every video I release, I would say I probably have 4 hours into it.
I was going to ask you how long it takes you to edit.
The editing I've gotten fairly good at. It's the research. Okay. So like I did a video on comparing the value of SGC cards to PSA cards. And I went through hundreds of cards, and I just basically said, okay, the average value of this card in an SGC 8 versus a PSA 8. And look, the PSA is more, and the SGC, in a 5, and different grades. And I mean, lots and lots of time into them. I have a video coming out on Friday about T206 cards, and how I think T206 cards, the star cards, are seriously undervalued. I think that I understand why people want T206 cards. I understand why there's a demand for commons, but I don't understand why you could buy a Christy Mathewson, who is a first ballot Hall of Famer, an inaugural Hall of Famer, in the inaugural class with Walter Johnson, the class with Ty Cobb, the class with Babe Ruth. Cy Young did not get in that class, but Christy Mathewson did. His card is $1,200, but a common is 100 to 150. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why would a common that you've never heard of, but one of the 5 or 6 players that gets in the inaugural Hall of Fame class is 1,200? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So I go into that with some numbers in the video that I have coming out in a couple days.
Oh, that should be cool.
Yeah.
You said the editing, you kind of got it down. What editing program do you use, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah. So I use Apple iMovie through Apple devices. I think that there are a lot out there. I have other programs from my work on my work computer. I have some of the like super high end ones, but for me, I don't know if I want my stuff to be overly produced. Like, you look like Card Collector 2, and you look at like Sports Card Investor, and they do a really good job with their production. I mean, the king to me is Chasing Cardboard with their production, and but those are like TV shows.
Yeah, they are.
And I'm just a guy who likes cards, and
right.
So it's almost like if it's too produced, it doesn't even feel. I don't know if I'd still feel relatable. Like, so It's pretty simple. It's just me holding my phone, talking to it for my introduction. I go through, some graphics and some charts, and sometimes I'm just doing screen grabs of Excel spreadsheets that I put together, because I want it to be. I want people to go like, oh, he's just like us, but he's just spending time on this thing like I could do, and my, ultimately, to be honest with you, my vision for what my channel is I want it to be, I want it to be like the show Cheers, right? Like, everyone would show up at this location, they would have the baseball game on or whatever, and they would just like talk about their common interests.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like a social place. So a lot of my videos are, I could be wrong. What do you guys think? Do you think, am I crazy for thinking this? If I'm crazy, tell me. If you agree with me, tell me. But I want to hear, and like, you'll notice, like, I mean, unless I've missed a couple, every single comment I've ever had to any video, I've responded to every single one. Because to me, the whole point was not to just get up there and record stuff and have people watch. It was to connect with people and share our common interest and talk about what we both like, which is cards. And if people have difference of opinion, that's totally cool, because I'm wrong. And I had a video I did last week, which I actually think, I'm bummed it hasn't caught on more, but I think it's my best video, and it's on supply and demand of sports cards.
Yeah, I saw it.
And it's all about, the reason this card's more valuable is because it's a low supply and a high demand. But I explain it with the actual curves of supply and demand. And when I got done, I had a few people reach out to me, and they were like, dude, you're missing the biggest, the Grail cards of the junk wax era. You didn't even mention them. And I'm like, what am I missing? And they were like, you're missing minor league cards. And I'm like, minor league cards? Like, come on. And they kind of, just through the dialogue going back and forth, I'm like, man, I think I'm missing it. Like, I was never into minor league cards personally. And they basically convinced me, you need to do some homework on this and check it out. And so I did. I'm on spring break right now as a teacher. And so I spent a couple of days ago, just reading about minor league cards and the scarcity of them and the value of them and the different players. And I ended up like going, wow, like these are legit. Like I missed it. Like, so that's the part that I like is I don't want to just be sharing my ideas thinking I'm teaching and people are learning from me. Like I'm learning from other people as much as anything. So
I think
it's been cool.
I think you're right, and I kind of envy the fact that you ask so many probing questions during your dialogue. I think that's so smart. Not to get people to comment, but like you said, to get feedback and to get a dialogue going. It's almost like a message board, like the old school message board where people would kind of get in there and kind of go back and forth.
Yes, that's the goal.
I think, to be honest with you, an idea for the future might be to schedule some lives for some certain topics, and you're like a teacher. You come in, you start presenting, and then you have somebody that's like a moderator for you, and they go, well, actually, this guy brought up this, and this guy brought up this, and you kind of do a discussion while you're doing the show. I think it's worth something to think about.
Well, I think that's a great idea. Do you subscribe to Breakout Cards?
Oh yeah, Ryan Nolan.
So Ryan Nolan, I mean, he has the best channel from my perspective. His stuff is awesome, and he's really, really good. And he had an interview with the CEO of SGC the other couple weeks ago. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw it. Yep.
And so he basically did that, and he basically had the SGC. He was asking some questions, but then he was also a moderator with some questions in the chat. Yep. And maybe it's insecurity on my part that I'm like, well, if I did that, would anybody even show up? You know, because it's like, from my perspective, you know, like I said, it was like Halloween that I posted my first video and had like 10 likes in the first month. So it's like, why would anybody want to show up and schedule that time with me? It just seems like, I mean, I guess I would love to do it. Yeah. But I don't know.
I think you're shortchanging yourself a little bit. Like first off, I think one of the attractions to you for people, I feel like, is your energy. Even just talking to me right now, you're very enthusiastic about what you're talking about. So I think as long as you pick something that you're enthusiastic about, even if you had like I'm a small channel compared to yours. I'm about to hit 300, and we had a live the other night. We had like 22 people in there consistently. But even if you have 22 to 30 people that are your commenters, those are the people that would probably show up. Those are the people who watch all your videos. Even if you have that, like I said, you post a live after the fact, and now everybody else is watching it after the fact, and it's not a big deal to them. But like you said, you're kind of getting that back and forth during the conversation a little bit better. You know what I mean? I just think
I mean, and I did the Q&A thing where I said, hey, ask some questions, I'll respond to video. And but you're right. I mean, that would be better. And I would have a blast doing that. Like, I would love doing that. And maybe I just need to go, okay, I'm going to try it. I hope someone shows up. Like, you know, because I don't know, like I'm just a regular guy who likes, you know, talking about cards with people. And I look forward to card shows all month until I get to go to one so that I can just pick people's brains and talk to them and stuff. So
no, that's really cool, man. You make your channel what you want to make it, and the crazy thing about YouTube is, and I think I'm 75 videos in. I'm not exactly sure how many videos you have, but like when I first started, I'm like maybe I'll have 100 videos when I'm done. Like how am I going to come up with ideas for videos? And then just stuff happens, and then you know what I mean, and then this video spawns this video. And the thing about it though is, like, people that watch videos have a short memory on stuff. So if I have a video that's bad, next video could be good. They don't nobody really, you know what I mean? Nobody goes, video you made that sucked. You know what I mean?
You know, and it's interesting because, like, there have been times I'm like, well, I'm not going to make a video on that because, you know, I don't know if anyone would be interested in it, because a lot of my subscribers are baseball collectors. Yeah. But I collect everything, you know, football, basketball, baseball. To be honest with you, the last year or so, it's been mostly football and basketball that I've collected. And so it's like, I'm still going to make videos on the stuff that I like. And I hope that people still, check it out. But if they don't, I understand that too. It's a menu, and if that's not something that people are interested in, that's okay. But like you said, if I'm passionate about it and I have a good time doing it, like, I think that will come across. And even if nobody likes it or checks it out, like, that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, put yourself out there like you already have. But I also wanted to talk about, you said you already have 1,800 subs. You're bigger than you expected. Obviously, I think anybody would be surprised by that number. What's your family think about it?
That's a good one. That's a really good question. Well, in beginning of October, I didn't know how to video edit. So my daughter is showing me how to video edit from like TikTok and stuff she knows. Yeah. So she's sitting here going, well, Dad, this is what you do, and I'm like, what? So I think that they think it's cool. I think that they like the fact that I'm excited about it and I'm having fun with it. And, I've always been a family first person. A lot of the reason I'm a teacher is so that I can have the same schedule as my family and be with my family all the time. And, I take my daughter to, you were trying to set up a schedule with me to do this. And I was like, well, I can't do Tuesday or Thursday because I take my daughter to soccer practice. And, those are important times for me. The thing that's cool about this is I can kind of do it anywhere. Right. I can video stuff anywhere. I can post stuff from anywhere. I can video edit from anywhere. So it allows me to still keep my family first, but also have this kind of hobby that I enjoy doing along the way. So cool. I think they think it's cool. And I think they appreciate the fact that it has not really affected the amount of quality time that we have together.
That's good. My daughter also helped me edit my first couple of videos. And my kids both play soccer, so we got soccer season coming up. I coach both teams, so I get real busy Monday through Thursdays. But like you said, it's kind of nice. Sometimes I'll almost record something a week before and kind of wait to put it out to kind of space things out. But it like you said, you can kind of go at your own pace. The good thing is, like, nobody expects me to have a certain number of videos each week. So I don't try to set an expectation of I'll have 2 videos a week. So nobody's disappointed. That's for sure.
Yeah. That is tough. I mean, my family went to Disneyland about 3 weeks ago. And so the week before I was like, I don't want the channel to suffer from this. So I worked double time the week before to get some videos scheduled so that I could still have stuff going. And on the walk back from Disneyland to the hotel, I was responding to, comments and stuff. So, but it is having kids and having, family and stuff and work, but this, again, I love how mobile that this is, you can do it from anywhere. Like, I went through this stretch where I was road biking a lot. I was preparing for one of those 100-mile road bike races. And it was like, I would wake up and then I would go and I would ride for 50 miles and then I'd come home, and it was like, I was gone for all this time. And so I want to have like stuff that I am interested in, or like my hobbies and my fun time, but without taking away from them too,
Yeah, exactly. So another thing I wanted to talk to you about, and it's funny because, like you said, sometimes YouTube knows a way to put something on your feed that you would really like. Your estate sale came up, and it was before I was subscribed to you. I saw some of your videos, but I wasn't subscribed yet, and then that came up, and I had a similar situation with my dad's cards where we found 3 boxes. He had 3 boxes of cards I didn't know about, and he brought them out of the attic, and we're going through them together, and And then 6 months later, I'm on YouTube and I'm kicking myself that I didn't videotape some of that. And I just think like the stars aligned. You had a YouTube channel, your dad found these, and it was just a really cool experience for me seeing you with your dad and doing that. And it ended up having 30,000 views,
Yeah.
which is so outrageous. It's ridiculous.
That has been insane now. And another video that I posted, I don't know, it's probably about in December, was I just am sitting down with my dad looking at his collection. And I remember I was listening to a show, I think it might have been a Howard Stern episode. And he was saying that when a few years ago, he hired a professional camera crew to come in and record him just having a conversation with his parents. And he did it because he wanted to always have that while they were still had their wits and stuff. And so I said to my dad, fairly early on, I go, let's look through your cards and let's just talk about your cards and your collection. And because I wanted to capture that, And when he called me that day and he was like, he's like, I found this box of cards. Like, I have to buy this, right? Like, I mean, it's only $200. And I go, Dad, even if they're all commons, it's worth it. Like, and he goes, I just thumbed through a few and I know there's a couple good ones. And so I was just like, this is a perfect opportunity to just capture us together with this thing that we like and this excitement about finding what's in there. And it was just like, I was like, I have to set up a camera, Dad, and just if it doesn't look good, then we won't do it. But we got to try it.
Yeah, that situation there, because you kind of went off site. Obviously, I think you went to his house. Is like what you don't think about is like where to sit. Like you don't think about that situation until you're in it. Then you're like, okay, where do I set up this camera that's optimal, where people could see the cards? They're not too far away, but they can see us. It's more tricky than people think, and that's why like these big channels have multiple cameras. You know what I mean? It's not as easy as people think.
The big channels have somebody that comes with them that videos. When I go to a show, I just strap a camera to my chest, and I've just got that perspective. Whatever I'm facing with my chest is what is recorded on camera. I just set it up where you could see the two of us talking. And then afterwards, I actually videoed the cards themselves. And then I spliced that in so you could see the cards. But I just thought our reactions and our excitement and looking at each other would be the key thing.
It was, you did a great job.
Thank you.
You definitely did, man. So talking about card shows a little bit, I think you said when you were younger, you and your dad would actually go to card shows. So I guess first point I wanted to make is card show videos get a lot of views. Why? Just like generally, why do you feel like the community is so attracted to a card show video? What do you think about it that they like?
That's a great question. I think that people like to see what it's like to be in the situation. I mean, we all have eBay, right? And we all have, PWCC and all these different things. But being at a show is something different. And I think that we're just sometimes curious, like what's like the mood of the room, and what are the dealers all like high-end dealers with their stuff all perfectly aligned, or is it just a guy with a table and the stuff laid out? And I think that people just like to see what's out there, what's selling, what are people interested in. To me, the thing that is the most interesting is the actual deal. The actual negotiation is what I think. And that's why I like Ryan on Breakout Cards is he will go through the actual purchase and, the deal. And I think the same thing. I'm not into modern cards. I have a few soccer cards. I like some soccer cards and stuff and a few little things, but Card Collector too. He's buying all modern stuff, but the deal and the packaging and going, because people are learning like, okay, now that maybe that's a way I can negotiate. And ultimately I think people, a lot of what YouTube does is it's just a really good teaching tool and learning tool. I mean, it was just this morning. We've had all these storms in California, and my gate, the hinge on my gate snapped, and the gate broke. And I was like, how did I hang that hinge again? Like, how did I hang this right so that it's square and everything? And I just went on YouTube, and it's like, I just think you can learn stuff from, how to interact with dealers, how to make a deal. And I think that's what people like the most is they like learning. But they don't know they like learning, but they like learning.
Yeah. Yeah. You like learning if you don't know you're learning.
Exactly. And that was like my point about the supply and demand video that I did, is it's like, if you start collecting cards as a kid, you're going to learn supply and demand. It will just be common sense to you, and you'll learn it by experiencing it. And so the best way to learn supply and demand is to have a lemonade stand, or, my daughter has collected golf balls in the community because we live in a golfing community, and she'll sell them. And these ones are worth more than these ones. Why? And that's how you learn stuff,
Right. No, I agree 100%. And I actually, that's my favorite part about Ryan's card shows also, is his negotiation. And I saw some of your card show videos where you capture your conversations, where you try to bundle stuff together to get a better deal, and you do a voiceover to talk through it. I've been to 2 card shows, and I filmed them both, but I didn't have the guts to wear a body camera and to go that strategy. I literally did the chicken way out of just videotaping the cases and kind of talking about what was in them. And maybe one day I'll have enough guts to do that.
And you know what the hardest part about doing it is I have one phone, right? So I have my one phone, and I use that phone as my camera. So I can't comp stuff. So I have to go based on like my memory. So like when we talk about like that Yogi Berra card a minute ago, it's like, well, I know that it's about 950 to 1,000. I know this guy. And so it's like, and as a kid, that's how I was. As a kid, I had the old Beckett, and the old Beckett, I had it memorized. Like, I could tell you what every single card was worth from about 1975 to current. I knew every single card. So I'd walk into a show and I knew what everything was worth, just because I studied it.
That's awesome. That's the good old days where dealers could take advantage of the buyers. So I had a couple questions I gave you a heads up on, because you would have to have stuff prepared for them. Mm-hmm. One of them is, what's the most meaningful card in your collection?
That's probably the question that you had posed to me that I think is the hardest one for me to answer. And it kind of overlaps with another one of the questions that you were asking. So I'm going to actually double up with you on one. And you were asking me, you had mentioned also about a card show story.
Yes.
And what's a good card show memory that I have. And so they actually go together. And so I'm gonna throw it together there. So in 1988, 89, I played Little League, and I was on the Red Sox. It was my Little League team. And I pitched, I was a pitcher. So, automatically Red Sox pitcher, right in the heart of Roger Clemens just being the guy. Yeah. And so I became a big Roger Clemens fan. Even though I was raised as a Yankee fan, I became a huge Roger Clemens fan. And so, for Roger Clemens collectors back then, the card was the 84 Fleer Update card. Yeah. And that card was, at the time in 88, 89, was like $100 card, $80 to $100 card. And that was a lot in 1988, 89. Yeah. And so I was just like, I'll never be able to afford that. So I'd go to shows and I'd buy 50-cent Roger Clemens cards and stuff. Well, eventually, after my dad taking me to enough shows, he started collecting too. He started collecting stuff from his youth, from 58 to 60, was the years that he mostly collected. So he started buying cards. And as a way to help pay for his collection, he would occasionally do card shows, and he would, buy stuff and sell stuff at card shows. And so I would, go along with him, and we would end up at a card show together all day. And one of the shows that we would go to was in Concord, California, which is kind of like the Bay Area near San Francisco, Oakland. And the guy who put the show on, it really wasn't about making money to him. It was just about being able to have this community event. So what he would do is he would take all the money that was the profit, and he would do once an hour, he would do a raffle. And so when you went into the show, you'd get a ticket, a raffle ticket. And if you won the raffle, the one per hour, you got $100 in credit to the show that had to be used at the show. And so I would be at the show with my dad all day. So finally I got the idea. I was like, you know what I need to do? I need to go stand at the door. And as people are leaving, I'd say, hey, if you're leaving, could I have your raffle ticket? And I'm like this little kid, right? I'm like 9 years old. So everyone was giving me their ticket. So by the end of the afternoon, I have like 50 tickets, right, for this show. Yeah. Sure enough, pulls my ticket. And I'm like, I'm 8 or 9 years old. I just got $100 credit at this show. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, the Clemens card is $80 to $100. So I have my credit, and I'm searching through the show for an 84 Fleer Update Clemens. And I found one. And this is it.
Let me give you some. There we go.
This is it right here. And you can see I got so lucky because I didn't even know at the time that centering was like a deal. I was just a little kid. But this thing is perfectly centered.
Wow.
It's got great corners. And it was $80 of my script that I spent. And I think I probably. Oh, did you lose me?
No, you're good. You're good.
And I don't know what happened to the other $20, but $80 right there. That was my Grail card. And I still have it. And I refuse to send it in to get graded because if they didn't give it a good grade, I would be just devastated. So it's just going to stay right like that.
That's awesome. I see. I'm a little bit younger than you, and my grandpa would take me to the flea market, and the card that I really had to get was the Barry Bonds card. And same thing. I said, I'm not going to grade. This card is a 1 at best. I put this in my pocket, okay? But I have a similar, not that I collected raffle tickets, but I just wanted the card, and my grandpa bought it for me one day, and I thought I had a Babe Ruth card, literally, as a child, I don't know, you don't realize the big picture. You're just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, 100%.
And from being from Pittsburgh, that was when he was on the team, and he had this outlook that he was going to be, the next Babe Ruth. Obviously, he had a great career still. That's awesome. That's an awesome story. So the next question I had for you was your favorite player to collect and why.
Yeah, I became, again, I was a Yankee fan growing up, but then I went on this Red Sox thing. I got into Ted Williams. I read a biography for his for like a 6th grade class, and so I got really into Ted Williams. I've picked up a few Ted Williams cards over the years, but when I was looking through my cards, I was like, who do I collect a lot of? And the guy that I collect a lot of is I collect a lot of Jim Brown. And to me, Jim Brown is, he's the Mickey Mantle of football. He's the guy.
Yeah.
So I have a 59 Jim Brown. This is his 2nd year, and that one's in a 6. And then I have a 60 Jim Brown. There's a little bit of a glare I'm trying to get past, but and that's in a 7. It's a little OC, but it's really sharp.
Wow.
My favorite one, I think, though, is this one, the 61. It's really well centered, and it's the blue coloring of it is just awesome. And then the one where he's got the hoopty car in the background. This one, the 64 Philadelphia,
That's a classic.
is a cool one. And then I also have his 65, which this is one of my favorite ones, because I just like the shot of him. It's just a good picture. So I have a lot of Jim Brown stuff, so he'd be up there. The other guy I like a lot, and a couple of his cards that I have, I bought raw and are actually being graded right now. But I'm a big Gale Sayers guy. And so I have some Gale Sayers stuff. This is a Gale Sayers rookie and a 5, but to me, I mean, I absolutely love the look of this one. I know it's a little off center. It's got a little bit of a rough cut, but I love this card. This is a second year Gale Sayers.
Nice.
And then I have a 68 is at the graders, and then this is a 70 Gale Sayers. So those are two guys I like to collect a lot. To me, you know, in football, the pure athleticism, when you look at like film, and, you know, it's one of those things, because I've had a lot of people say to me, hey, are these young kids ever going to appreciate these old players, these vintage players, or are those cards going to become worthless? And I'm like, I never saw Gale Sayers or Jim Brown play, but I collect their stuff, you know. I never saw Yogi Berra play, but I've been eyeing a Yogi Berra rookie card. So, you know, I think it's just like, it's like sports meets history is vintage cards. And so I think there's always going to be that demand, but those are probably the two that I always have a soft spot for when I go to shows.
That's really cool. Yeah, I agree with your hypothesis that that guys especially love history, and they're going to look back. They're going to look back and they're going to go, "Wow, Ty Cobb is a really good player." And like you said too, we love scarce things too. So we're going to go, oh, that's a scarce card. Like, I want to have the scarcest card in the room, right? So
it's just how we're wired. We're just wired that way. I mean, if you think about your high school history teachers, like a lot of them were guys, you know, and it's like guys like learning about the history of things and sports and wars and politics. It's just like what we like to do for some reason. So
exactly. The one thing I'm going to give you advice on is your one Gale Sayers card. You said it's off center. I stopped doing that. Like I used to hold up a card and be like, well, this is a really good example, but there's chipping down here. The first thing I would do is call out everything that was wrong with the card. And I'm starting to try to train myself to not think like I'm the PSA grader, but I'm looking at a card as a card.
But you know, when you're insanely OCD, like a lot of us collectors are, like anything, it's just like it bugs us. But honestly, like this Gale Sayers card, like it's one of these things where like a lot of people don't like a rough cut. And if you look, I don't know if I can get it with the glare, you can see kind of on the edge there, it's got like a rough cut along here. And to me, there's something about that I actually like. It's like, it makes you go, oh man, 66 Philadelphia Gale Sayers. I can imagine the machinery is getting dull. It's the end of a shift. It's starting to rip the card more than just, you know, cut right through. And nobody messed with it. It came out of a pack, and nobody said, oh, I got to smooth that out or try to do something to it. So there's something about that. There's like a story to that I actually kind of like rough cut edges.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
See, I like I'm a big proponent of, I hate the fact that PSA has the minimum size requirement, and then if it came like that from the factory, it came like that from the factory. Like to me, that should be graded normal. But that's me personally. Like it wasn't. Nobody did anything to that card. Like you could take it down a couple grades. Let's say it's a 6. And because it's smaller, you take it down 2 grades to a 4. I would be fine with that. But the fact that they literally just chop it down to an authentic, I'm like that's how they cut the card. I had nothing.
If you look under high power magnification, like they do, which is a whole nother issue. But if you look under high power magnification, you can see like the fibers on the edges of a card when it was cut a long time ago. And if those aren't there, you can tell that something happened along the way, whether it be, like a filing, what emery board or whatever they call those things, or they did something to it. But so as long as you can see the original integrity of the edges, I'm with you. I don't understand how that's a flaw on the card, but
exactly. But I think let's go on to the next question. We're getting close to an hour here. Your favorite autograph or autograph story?
So I don't know how much time I have, but so in 2001, I went to Tampa Bay spring training with my dad and my brother, which was where the Yankees have their spring training. Again, I was raised a Yankee fan.
Yeah.
And so we went to spring training, and I'm collecting autographs throughout the week. I mean, if you look here, you can see I've got Mariano Rivera there. I've got Derek Jeter on that ball.
Wow.
You can see Jorge Posada's on there. David Justice is on there.
Wow.
A bunch of guys are on there, and I even have some of the coaches. I have Willie Randolph on there, El Duque Hernandez, Alfonso Soriano, Don Zimmer. So we're sitting at one of the nights that we're in the hotel because my brother researched and figured out what the Yankee team hotel was. So we booked our room there. And awesome. I'm not kidding you when I say this. We rode in the elevator with Yogi Berra and his wife one night. We rode in the elevator with Don Mattingly one night. And we're sitting in the restaurant down below and in the hotel, and we're eating dinner. And just about the time our food comes, they come and they sit the people at the booth next to us. And it's George Steinbrenner and his wife.
Wow.
And so I'm sitting here, and right behind me is George Steinbrenner is sitting like our bodies are like that far from each other. And I go, I got to run up and get my ball and get Steinbrenner to sign this. I have to.
Yeah.
So I run over to the elevator and I go up to our room. I get my ball. I bring it down and I go up to Steinbrenner and I say, I hate to bother you, but I've got this team ball and I don't think it would be complete unless you signed it too. And on the sweet spot was Joe Torre. You see it right there. You can see Joe Torre. Yeah. And he goes, right below it is George Steinbrenner.
Wow. That's cool.
And that trip with my dad and my brother and getting that autograph, that's definitely the top of the list.
That's awesome. That's a memory. That's cool.
For sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, I didn't know you were a Yankees fan, to be honest with you. Maybe I didn't watch enough of you this year.
No, I try not to. I really try not to influence people or have them. I just try to be independent. It's like with my students, I don't want them to know my political leanings when I'm teaching. Right. I just say, this is this side, this is this side. I don't want it to affect anybody. So I don't talk about it a lot. But yeah, I'm a 49er fan, being the local team. I root for the Kings in Sacramento because that's where we live. And then the Yankees were my dad's team. And so when he raised me, in fact, if you look, my name there is spelled Graig. And Graig Nettles was the third baseman of the Yankees and the captain of the Yankees after Thurman Munson died, became Graig Nettles. And that 77-78 World Series stretch, he had this outstanding, playoffs and World Series defensively. And that's when, my mom was pregnant with me and they were talking about names and they said, Graig, and they said, let's do it like Graig Nettles, Graig, Graig Nettles. And so that's where the spelling came from. Yeah.
So how often does your name get misspelled in different places?
Every day, every time I go anywhere.
Yeah. All right. So to end, I always end with one thing. It's 10 questions in 1 minute.
Okay, let's do it.
So make sure your answers are as short as possible. And I'll just go through the questions without, all right. It'll start I got a timer. It'll start after the first question.
Okay.
Your favorite YouTube channel to watch outside of Breakout Cards?
Card Collector 2.
Favorite grading company?
PSA.
Best fast food restaurant?
Chick-fil-A.
Dream vacation?
Maui.
Favorite sport to watch?
Football.
Does baseball need robot umpires?
Probably.
Best sports stadium?
Yankee Stadium.
Most overrated superhero?
Batman.
Favorite card show?
The ones I went to as a kid at the Moscone Center.
Death Row Final Meal?
KFC, McDonald's fries, and a Coke.
You got time left over. You did good. The Batman answer, though, that's probably the most controversial thing you said.
No doubt about it. I will catch grief from my kids. I like the Flash a lot. I like Superman. My kids are they're Marvel people, and I like more DC stuff. But
nice.
Yeah, that is a tough one. But he's just overhyped.
He's got the best movies. I'm sorry.
Oh, the best movies for sure. Definitely. The Dark Knight Batman movie is phenomenal.
Oh yeah, for sure. That is great. Yeah. Well, Graig, it's been fun hanging out with you, getting to meet you, getting to learn more about you and your channel. I really appreciate you coming on today, man.
Of course, I appreciate you having me. And hey, anytime you want to have me on, I'd be happy to come back.
Oh, I appreciate it. If for some reason you're not subbed to Graig's channel, Midlife Sports Cards, I would definitely check out his channel. It's awesome, and he does a great job with his production value, his thought-provoking content, and his enthusiasm. Like I said, it's awesome, Graig. Keep up the great work, man.
I appreciate it a lot. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.